Guten Tag und herzlich willkommen bei meiner neuen Kochsendung. Oh, you should have seen the looks on your faces. You all were like, what the fuck is he doing now? What language is this? Is he going to do this in Dutch? No, that was German, but we're still gonna kick it in English. Today, of course, again, Italian. But today we're gonna do a northern Italian dish, gnocchi. What do we need for our gnocchi? Let me tell you. We're going to need 500 grams of potatoes, 100 grams of plain flour. Well, some recipes say 00 flour, but I always use plain flour, works the same. 1 egg yolk. And for the sauce, because it's Sunday and I feel pretty, we're gonna make a butter, black truffle, parmesan sauce. Now, as you can see, I chopped my potatoes in small cubes. The reason why is, it's when you chop things smaller, they're faster to cook. A plain potato normally takes 18 minutes to be boiled, and not every potato is the same. Not every year of the potato is the same. So small dicing automatically means, in theory, faster cooking. So here we go. In my last video I explained that when you boil water with salt it takes longer. There is an exception when you're boiling potatoes. In my case, 3 teaspoons of salt into the water. Put your potatoes in a pot with cold water, bring it to the boil. I'm gonna say 15 minutes, but always check your potatoes. It's an estimate, not given. Okay, and while the potatoes are getting to the boil, we're gonna start with the sauce. It's a very plain, very simple sauce. I've made butter sauces before for my pasta. It's a poor man's dish. It's very rich in flavor. The butter does not have to be beurre noisette like in some cases. We are just gonna melt the butter, low heat. It doesn't have to be brown, just make sure it's not going to be burned. Just let it bring slowly to the boil. As I was saying, I've made a butter sauce before. And what I did was I added some Vecchia Romagna, that's the Italian cognac brandy, also with some Parmesan cheese, flambéed it so that the alcohol would evaporate out of it, and it was so delicious, so delicious. A little bit of butter knowledge. As we all know, butter is made from milk. It's being churned. That creates butter. The white flowing on top is the egg white. If you're making a beurre noisette, you want to take that out so your butter can brown more and get that nutty flavor. And in the culinary industry, we have something called clarified butter. We also take out the egg whites, and you get a higher heat resistant butter that gives flavor to your vegetables, your meat, your fish, your poultry, whatever you like to do with it. As you can hear, my butter starts to bubble, and you see the egg whites are now on top, separating. If you're a truffle lover, add more. If you're not a truffle lover, you can leave it out just with the Parmesan cheese or any cheese you like. 2 teaspoons go in, turning off the heat, whisk it in, set it aside. Gonna use this later when our gnocchi is ready. .15 minutes have passed, sorry, 15. Now we're gonna drain the potatoes. I've already checked them, if they were boiled, yes or no. You can check them by putting a knife into the potatoes, putting the pan back on the fire. I'm going to tell you why. Potato, as we all know, like with pasta, has starch in it. Going to dry cook them, as you can hear it. Hear that? That sizzling sound. Move them a little bit back and forth, so all the remaining liquid can evaporate. Low heat, otherwise your potatoes will burn. Now we're gonna go to do the fun part. Love making time. I invested in one of these in the well-known Scandinavian Home Depot store. It's to mash your potatoes. If you don't have something like this, just mash it. Don't put it in a mixer, because otherwise you will end up with having something that's called drywall. Now, as you can see, I didn't use a clean bowl to put it in. Many chefs are taking it into another bowl. Italians are 5 ingredients, cooking mainly. And why have extra dishes to wash? Because the heat is still in there. I'm gonna need that heat for our egg yolk and for our flour later on. Don't worry if it gets a little lumpy, it's a rustic dish. And later on, when I'm going to make the gnocchis, I'm gonna show you different kinds ways how to make them. I myself have the luxury for having a special gnocchi board. I assume not all of you have a gnocchi board, because I'm going to show you how to do it with a fork. Right, we start with the egg yolk in the middle. I'm going to use a wooden spoon to mix it all in at first. As you can see, the heat is still in there. It's going to cook the egg yolk. It's going to create a binder. Now, with plain pasta making, we learn make a well in the middle of your flour, add in the yolks and work from the inside out until it's get combined. It's almost the same process here, but we're skipping the rules a little bit. What we are looking for is a nice thick consistency. As you can see, it already starts to form a ball. I'm going to add little by little the flour, and it's always easier to add flour than to take it out. Because in a later stadium I also gonna do it by hand to make sure everything is in, to have the gluten, as we say it, well rested. Now it's time to get our hands dirty. As You see I'm still working in the bowl. And now that you have it in your hands, you can feel the consistency. If it is a little too moist, add more flour. Going to add in a little bit, pinch of salt. Just little by little add the flour. Still some flour there. I'm gonna bring it to my work surface. I still feel it's wet. Don't add too much flour because it will get too starchy. The way I roll it, it's like my pizza dough actually. Thumbs in, roll, thumbs in, roll, thumbs in, roll. I still feel it's kind of wet. So again, more flour comes in, rolling it, turning it, until you end up with a nice consistency. Need more flour. In, roll, in, roll, in, roll. It's like kneading bread actually. Only now we're gonna do it with potato. In. I've learned this the hard way from my grandmother and my mother. So will be a nice job to do. And for you fellas out there, it's a nice way to learn how to massage. Come in handy one day when you piss off your lady. They say, honey, sit down. Have a glass of wine. Let me rub your feet. And you start rubbing her feet and she forget all the shit you did that day. Alright. Next up, I've divided my dough in 4 pieces. As you can see, I already rolled a sausage, because that is what you're gonna do, roll a sausage. Just within 2 hands, dusted work surface, you roll it out. We are not going to look for Michelin star quality, just homemade, lovely. Gnocchis. About, I have 1 finger, so let's see how that works out for you. Like I said, we're not aiming for Michelin star quality. I have here a few now. Some leave them like this. Some roll a ball first. It's all fine. I'm going to roll balls. I'm going to show you now 2 before I show the end result. I've invested in a pasta board. It's not only for gnocchi, it's also for cavatelli pasta, other types of pasta. On top, let me zoom in. You go on top with your thumb and you roll. There you have it. It's your gnocchi. You want it to be like this underneath, and like that on top. Why? Because it's gonna take the sauce. Well, Stefano, it's all nice, fun and games, but I don't have that. Well, I hope you have a fork. Works the same way. Top, roll, twist and roll. Gonna look completely different. You can also do it the other way around. top, pressure. There you have it, with a fork. Well, some say first make a well in the middle, put it on top, then you roll. As you can see, you're already fucking it up. So that's a little bit of BS. Just on top, press and roll. Like the fire drill, drop, tuck and roll. Drop, tuck, roll. Water is boiling. I'm adding 3 teaspoons of salt. The gnocchis go in. I'm having here 13 pieces or so. This will take about 5 minutes. So see you back in a bit when we start plating and making magic. 5 minutes have passed. My gnocchis have been boiled. As you can see, they increased a little bit in size. Going to make a nice plate of the gnocchis. Our beautiful butter and black truffle sauce. Oh, this smells so delicious. Like I said, I was raised poorly, but we create the best dishes in the world. It's my opinion. Nice butter truffle sauce. I'm going to finish by grating some lovely aged Parmesan cheese. Don't cheap out on your cheese. If you're a cheese lover, don't, and I really mean don't cheap out. I'd rather have you cheaping out on your wine than cheaping out on your cheese. Clean your plate, as we all learn in the culinary industry. And there you have it, my lovely friends. Gnocchi al burro con tartufo. Buon appetito.